Hello, I'm Mark DeMontis at an empty baseball field just outside Vancouver, British Columbia. Not a soul around. Baseball, not so popular in terms of participation in Canada. For the visually impaired, essentially non-existent. But we hope to change that with a visit to the 2014 Beep Baseball World Series in Rochester, Minnesota, in this 1-hour Sports Access special presentation, which all begins right now.
Swinging, reeling,
Oh, look at the size of that one.
and skating across Canada. Host Mark DeMontis checks out all things accessible in sports and recreation. This is Sports Access.
Welcome back to a very special 1-hour Sports Access. I'm now standing next to a very active field in Rochester, Minnesota, site of the 2014 Beep Baseball World Series. That's right, Beep Baseball. Baseball for the blind. There's 19 teams at this championship, and not one from Canada. For the next hour, we'll learn why that is and why that's a shame considering how cool this sport is. We'll learn the game and later introduce it to Canadian blind athletes who have never had the chance to play. It's year 39 of this event, the third time Rochester, Minnesota has hosted. And as is always the case, you'll hear a lot of this. A beep baseball, and a lot of this. A buzzing bass. There are more than 200 players here representing 19 teams. Check out Eric Mazariegos, a Beep Baseball Hall of Famer, an 8-time World Series champion with a sweet swing.
They have tournaments leading up to this, and they're competitive, but this one's for all the marbles. So, you see people out here, we're athletes first. The blindness is very much secondary. We're into this just like a Major League Baseball player would be into winning the World Series. We're no different.
How about Megan Fink? She's from Long Island and plays for the New York Bombers. Her fielding skills finished off one big victory as she made the final putout at shortstop in a game against Tyler, Texas.
I mean, you're playing with all guys who can whack the hell out of that ball and who can have long legs with a lot of speed, so you got to be able to keep up with them a lot. So you just got to stay in shape and work out with them, and you got to be right on that ball. When you're out there in the field, you got so much adrenaline that when you make one of those plays, I got hit in the chest and I still got the ball. So when you just make one of those plays, it's an amazing feeling.
Then there's the locals, the Minnesota Millers Beep Baseball team, featuring sighted head coach Doug Van Dyne and his son Evan, a player with a visual impairment.
Before these last 4 years, we were just kind of starting up and getting the ball rolling as far as this program goes in Minnesota. So the guy who was running it at the time came up to Dad and me and looked at me and said, "Hey, are you going to play?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Great." And he turned to Dad and he said, "Are you going to help?" And Dad was not expecting to, but he's like, "Sure, yeah, I'll stay."
And just like most sighted volunteers who join Beep Baseball, Evan's dad was hooked after his first practice.
There is a sport element, which is important, but the independence of being out there, being able to do something, just running, is not a natural thing for people with visual impairment. So just to see them develop their motor skills is really neat for me. It's neat for me to see them experience things that perhaps the loss of vision would make them more confined.
And these athletes make the most of not being confined. There's a lot of jumping around and whooping and hollering, whether from Boston, Texas, or Louisiana. All walks of life from all around America chasing the Beep Baseball dream. Amo Misheroff from the New Jersey Lightning participates with a visual and hearing impairment.
I lost my vision in 2009, and I used to be an athlete in high school and in college, and for a wonderful experience. And then for so many years, I was wondering if such an opportunity will come up again, and this allows me to do that. It's a wonderful experience. It allows us to get out of it opens a new window in our life. It's a sport that requires hearing. It is extremely difficult to feel the ball in the air based on hearing. And this is what we do, or to hit a baseball. And it's extremely exhilarating to run towards the base, a beeping base at full speed, not being able to see it.
As we watch these beep baseballers take their swings, we are reminded, yes, baseball is considered a very American sport. And yes, in Canada, it's always taken a backseat to hockey and others. In Canada, baseball participation numbers are generally low, and for those blind or with a physical disability, there's a complete void. That in mind, it's still remarkable there are no Canadians playing the field at this event in Rochester, where the best of the best have gathered for this baseball feast. Sports writer Dave Wanzik is writing a book about the annual event.
So what I think is great about beep ball is it combines the sports action with just problems in everyone's life, the challenges in life, and that's kind of apparent on every play. That kind of interacts on every play. The backstories of how all these people got into the game kind of make for a great general interest story. And there's also an international rivalry. So Taiwan against Austin has been the rivalry in the past. And Austin is just such a great story. They've been the runner-up the last 2 years. They won 7 in a row in the 90s, and now they're back to try to reclaim the title. So there's a lot of human interest and just a lot of good action, a lot of good spirit out here.
Cited head coach Rob Weissman of the Boston Renegades makes the most of every game.
Green Monster! Let's go, guys.
Weissman says beep baseball is the only team sport in all of New England for adults with visual impairments.
But one of the challenges that we do have that's kind of unique is some of the guys that play the sport, they've never played sports before. You know, some guys come to us and they've been blind their whole lives. So one big part of it, at least that we really focus on, is team building and teaching people to be, you know, part of a team. And, you know, my philosophy as a coach is that we find a role for everybody as long as they commit to the team, and we try to get everyone in a competitive way. And what's great is we are probably one of the most competitive teams out there as far as wanting to win, but we're not competitive amongst ourselves. Everyone's not fighting for playing time. They support each other tremendously. When new guys come into the team, the older guys embrace them, and they don't look at them as competition to playing time. They look at, you know, growing the sport in the Boston area. And I think that's somewhat different than you know, baseball, especially for adults, because baseball for adults, most people have experience and they know what playing on a team's like, so that's one big difference.
When we come back on this Sports Access special, just what is beep baseball, how it's played, and what Canadians are missing. Stay with us.
Sports Access will return. We now return to Sports Access.
Welcome back. Just so the sport makes a little more sense and Canadians know exactly what they're missing, we thought we'd explain a little bit more about the game itself. Here's our Rob Simpson with more.
Demo, thank you very much. I'm in my black and blue baseball outfit. Black shorts, blue top, shades. I'm ready to go, and right now I'm a right-handed batter, and I'm standing at home plate, much like a traditional baseball diamond. Home plate and foul lines running out down the right field line and down the left field line. They go out 170 feet to the home run line. Hit a ball in the air over that line, hey, you know what? It's a home run. Just like traditional baseball, the object of this game is to outscore your opponent. 6 innings, 3 outs on either side. Each inning, yes, indeed, very much the same that way, but of course there are some differences. The cameraman, our cameraman, Arthur, and the camera right now, 40 feet away. There's an arc running where he is standing to each foul line. That is the fair ball line or foul ball line. The ball has to cross that line to be a fair ball, and of course it also has to stay inside the lines, the foul lines. And then half the distance, I'm going to walk towards you, half the distance between where Arthur is located 40 feet away and where home plate is, where I am, is the pitcher's mound. I'm going to stroll out. This is where the pitcher pitches the ball. It's very, very close, just 20 feet to the batter. So pitchers have to be able to move their feet. Click, just like that. We've turned things around. Now Arthur and the camera are standing behind home plate where the catcher would be. And I am standing on the pitcher's mound with the beep baseball. Every play begins with this bad boy. I'm going to pitch it hypothetically belt high, like that. Arthur returns it. Nicely done, Arthur. And generally there's a pattern because the batter can't see. It's all about timing over and over and over. Each batter tries to swing in the exact same spot every time. If he likes it waist high, he swings waist high every time. It's up to the pitcher to get it to that spot. If he likes it down by his ankles, he's going to swing at his ankles every time. It's up to the pitcher to get it down to that spot. He'll say set, and then 2 more words of his choice. It could be ball ready. It can be set, 2, 3, swing. But usually it's the 4th thing. So set, 1, 2, swing. Set, 1, 2, swing. So here we go. Set, 1, 2, swing. So right on that last number, the batter needs to swing. Now I'm at the officials table, or the officials tent, right behind home plate. Arthur is shooting back at me from home plate. We keep score, and we also control the sounds on the bases. You get 4 strikes in beep baseball. You can keep fouling off that last one to stay alive, but it's 4 strikes. You get the opportunity to pass on 1 pitch you don't like. You can only pass 1 time. If you pass again, it's called a strike. So 4 strikes and you're out, 3 outs in an inning, as I mentioned earlier, just like traditional baseball. When the player swings, randomly, this official holding this little box just kind of goes, I think I'll make the sound come out of first base. And I think this next swing, I think I'll have it come out of third base. He flips that switch. The runner, should they make contact, the batter, should they make contact, runs towards the sound. In this case, first base. If he swings and makes contact and it's buzzing over there, he goes as fast as he can in that direction. All right, now I'm back up here at the plate. I'm a right-handed batter, yes indeedy. Let's just say, for argument's purposes, I have just swung the bat and I have made contact into fair territory beyond the 40-foot line. It's time to run. And let's, for argument's sake, say that the buzzer is going off right where I am looking towards you at first base. There it goes. I am sprinting with my blindfold as fast as I can towards first base. Note that the base is about 4 feet high, made of foam. If I'm blindfolded, I run into it, I don't get hurt. But it is 10 feet into foul ground. That's because the fielders are also blindfolded. If I'm running down the actual line or in fair territory, boy, there's a really good chance for some collisions, right? So both bases, first and third, are 10 feet off the line in foul ground. Boom! If I get here first, before a fielder controls the baseball, the beep ball, and holds it up, I score a run. If I don't get here in time, if the fielder catches it or picks it up and holds it before I get to this base, I'm out. Arthur, the cameraman, is now back right behind home plate, and I am out in the outfield. I'm standing right pretty much in the center of the diamond, center of the playing field. From home plate straight out to the center of the outfield, just kind of draw an imaginary line. And from where I'm standing, there would be 5 numbers from me to the foul line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of areas or quadrants, and then also to my left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over to that foul line. I can't see, obviously, so my spotter will call out a number when the ball is hit. If the batter hits it to the area that's closest to me, he'd say, 1. That's all they're allowed to say. They can't say, lay down, back up, run forward. All they're allowed to say is the number, and then it's up to me to listen to the beep baseball and find it. So the spotter will say 1, and I will kind of stay close to where I am because 1 is the middle of the field. If he says, or she says 5, then I'm probably not going to do a whole lot where I'm located. The player over near the foul line is in that 5 area. They'll try to come up with the baseball. But there usually is 2 or 3 fielders going for every ball. And yes, here I am back on the mound where, just like in traditional baseball, every play begins right here. But in beep baseball, every play begins with a beep. In just a few minutes, Demo, you're going to try to hit this guy, and you're going to try to field it as well. Arthur, heads up. Here comes the perfect pitch as we go to a break.
Sports Access will return. We now return to Sports Access.
Welcome back to Sports Access. Now, before I go and dominate the beep baseball world, I got to learn how to swing this bat here. That's why I have my Austin Blackhawks jersey on, and I'm with two Austin Blackhawks right now. Kevin Simpson, pitcher, Kenny Whittier, catcher. And these guys are going to help me out. What are some of the tips here, Kevin, in terms of swinging a bat here, home plate? I'll put my blindfold on.
The biggest thing is the timing. The timing has to go in a rhythm. And for our team, it's set, ready, ball, swing. Set, ready, ball, swing.
Set.
So, and swing, that's when you take your swing and then we'll make contact with the ball. You swing exactly where you want to swing, something that feels comfortable for you, but it's got to be repeatable. You got to be able to swing at the same place every time. So timing and location, target practice for the pitcher, you got yourself a hit.
Okay, I'm going to pull my blindfold down here. All right, Kevin, help me out.
Okay, here we go. Right after I say ball, take your swing. All right, here we go. Ready, ball. Perfect. This is going to be easy for you. Outstanding.
I struck out there, but that's okay. We'll try again.
Keep trying. Takes a minute. Here we go. Ready, ball. Okay, it's got to be the same swing every time. You can't fall down sometimes. All right. Get away from home plate just a little bit. You're covering it up. Get off my plate before I take it with a fastball. Ah, he understood that one. All right, here we go. Ready, ball. Yes, perfect. Do that one more time and you got yourself a hit.
Another strike?
Another strike. All right, here we go. Ready, ball. Oh, just a hair late. Just a hair late on the swing.
This is a lot harder. Another strike there, a lot harder. Yeah, finding the base is even
Keep trying. Come towards me just a little bit. There you go. All right, ready? Ready, ball. Awesome. You're close. You're close. Try to stay still and don't move until I say ball.
Okay.
You're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good.
I actually think I'm doing horrible, to be honest. I haven't hit the ball yet.
Keep trying. Keep trying. Move your right foot away from home plate slightly.
Behind, back?
There you go. Like, oh, yeah.
Can I have how about the Batista stance?
Oh, yeah.
No? Okay.
There you go. All right, here we go. Keep trying. Ready, ball. All right, you're close. You're close. Your timing is good. Try to keep the swing in the same place every time. If it changes, you won't be able to hit it. All right, here we go. Ready, ball. A little bit late on the swing, a little bit late. All right, off the plate a little bit, off the plate. Here we go. Ready, ball.
I hit a ground ball. The base started beeping, and I started running.
I'm running over.
And as I'm running, the guys on the bench were chirping me. Watch out for that tree and stuff. Of course, there was nothing in the way. So although tentative, I finally made it and tackled third base. I stood up, lifted the base, and enjoyed the moment.
This is the closest I'm getting to hoisting a Stanley Cup. It's interesting how when you're running to one of the bases and it's making noise, you keep thinking that there's going to be something in your way blocking you because you can't see anything at all. So for me, I have some vision with a blindfold on, as I put on right now. You can't see anything at all. And it's just interesting to think that I was so hesitant to keep running as fast as I could. What advice do you have for the runner in that case?
Nothing's in your way. So run as fast as you can and have fun doing it. You're free, and if there are sighted volunteers that are keeping an eye on you, so if you're veering off course of the base, they'll tell you to stop.
That's good advice. All right, so I've done some batting, but now what I'm going to do is pull my blindfold down and try some fielding. I'm here with head coach of the Austin Blackhawks, John Fleming. John, we'll talk about some fielding here.
Yeah, you're in our 5 position. It's kind of like a shortstop.
Okay.
You're going to be in our 2 zone in left field. So you basically have a 1 zone to your left. You have 3, 4, and 5 to your right. If it's called a 2 zone, it'll be right at you. We recommend that you stay low, keep your ears near the ground, and then go down in what we call a C position, okay? So that's that laying out on your side, okay? So I'll hit you some ground balls, and we'll see what you got.
I used to like taking ground balls when I was a kid, but now doing this with a blindfold on, we'll see how I feel.
All righty.
All right.
All right, here we go. Here we go, D.
John hit a ground ball pretty much right at me.
There you go.
Oh, no. But I picked it up, put it in the air, and it slipped out of my hands. but I found the ball nonetheless. Molly's my spotter, communicating with me. I'm moving to my right. Down, stance, blindfold on, ready to go.
All right, here we go, D. Set, ready, ball.
It's a line drive and a bounce right at me.
There you go. Try to stay on your feet. Good job. Good control.
And I just rolled it back after lifting it in the air. It's really about listening for your spotter, so Molly in this case, listening for the ball beeping, which is just as important too. So trying to use your listening as well as, in some many ways, athleticism to find the ball. And then once you do find it, you really have this great feeling once you do raise the ball, because it's just a great feeling. So it was a good experience.
Coach Fleming.
Well, I mean, there's a lot going on when the ball's, coming at you or coming to your left or your right. You've got 3 other people moving. So it can be really difficult to get your ear on it and have that really great form. We always say it takes, basically 5 years to make a good defender. So, you can swing the same way. You can learn to do that, but you cannot necessarily learn to get in position and put your body on the ground. And then it takes real sure hands, but finesse to get that ball up without losing it or swatting it away.
Back on this Sports Access special in just a bit.
Sports Access will return. We now return to Sports Access.
Welcome back. Now that was quite the workout. I'm sweating, and you've seen my beat baseball skills or lack thereof. Now, let's meet some real good beat baseball players.
Actually, really good and incredibly inspirational. Ethan Johnston, who plays for the Colorado Storm, is originally from Ethiopia, and his story is beyond remarkable. He didn't go blind, he was blinded on purpose, for profit.
About 5 or 6 years old, I was taken from my mom. These guys from the capital city of Addis Ababa came to the countryside looking for kids to take to the city, but supposedly to take them to school. But that was not their intention. Their intention was to take the kids that are about 5 or 6 to the city in an isolated area to intentionally blind them so they can use them as beggars so they can earn money without the people that blinded you working. So basically, child trafficking. So yeah, they told my mom, which kid is the oldest, and of course I was before I was taken away from her, I was a shepherd boy watching cattle, and as a payment, the people that owned that cattle gave us a huge jug of milk, so I was trying to help out somehow, some way I can, because I was the boy in the family, and it was just my mom and I and my sister and my grandma. Yep. And so my mom, of course, when I told her that they were going to take me to school, she was excited. She's like, well, great. He could go to school and become somebody, help the family out. When they told me get ready for bed, school starts tomorrow, I pull out my goat skin to lay down, and that's when 4 of them made advancements. One of them held my arms flat on my back, and then the other one held my feet down flat, and then the third one sat on me, held me down in the middle, on my stomach, and then the 4th one put poisonous stuff in my eye. In Ethiopia, we call it kulkwal. When you break the branch off, there's a white liquid. And if it gets near your eye, it blinds you. And they did that, and they did other stuff that I don't know of. And, I screamed and flailed like a dead chicken, but the only things that could hear me was hyenas.
Ethan, the future infielder, begged on the street for those men for 2.5 years before being rescued by some administrators from a school for the blind. Eventually, after spending 3 months in hospital with tuberculosis and living for a while in an orphanage, Ethan was adopted by an American family. 1 in a million is an understatement. His roommate at the University of Colorado and a cited volunteer coach for his beat baseball team is Jimmy Pang.
With all of his story, when I was first talking to him, I'm like, oh man, you must be bitter, really upset about, what's happened to you. They took your vision from you. They took you out of your home country. They took you away from your mom. He's like, are you kidding me? I came to America. I got a U.S. college education. I'm living, this is what my mom would have wanted for me. And he's just so positive. So it's like, ooh, it's kind of tough to complain about, working long hours or, traffic or anything when Ethan's like, my life is awesome. And he really means it. And, he exudes positivity. So, yeah, it's tough to be upset about anything.
One of Ethan's eyes is a prosthetic. On the other, he's had 13 cornea transplant operations. He can see some shadows and a slight bit of color. He began his beep baseball experience 7 years ago.
Yeah, one of my teammates, summer of 2007, told me about, hey, do you want to play baseball? I'm like, how does that work? I mean, I can't see. He's like, yeah, it's called beep baseball. You should come try it out. We're going to practice on Sundays. And so I'm a huge sports fan, Baseball is one of my favorite 4 sports. And so I was like, all right, whatever. And so I go out to practice. I had basketball shorts on and a Kobe Bryant basketball jersey on. And, I'm like, hitting-wise, I was sucking it up because I was striking out. But when we're riding base, it's like, oh, you're fast. I'm like, well, if you can't hit the ball, you can't run to the base, So after that practice, I was very scratched up, sore. I'm like, that's not bad, Because I thought, blind baseball, I thought you could put it on the tee, like, little kids' T-ball, whatever. You hit it and you run. You're like, oh, good job. Now you get a piece of candy. But no, my first at bat, our coach, John Walker, standing 20 feet away, set, ready, ball. And when I say ball, you swing, I'm like, oh, okay, this is a little competitive. It's not easy as I thought it would be. And so I got hooked. And my first debut was in 2008, the World Series in Houston. Before that, we played in Kansas, another tournament. So it was a great tournament, and I've been playing since.
He uses his good speed to race to the bases and to get to balls quickly in the field.
You have to be quick to the ball, slow with your hands. Sometimes if you're running, charging the ball, trying to pick it up. I had a bad one yesterday. I knocked it away. By the time I did that, it was too late. And so you got to be quick to the ball, but slow with your hands.
Ethan believes the physical accomplishments are overshadowed by the emotional.
Yeah, I definitely like the camaraderie of, everybody, because, we had some players from Kansas and, getting to know each other, to a personal level. And of course, competing against other blind people, because, personally, I feel like I'm the greatest, and then you come out here and you see different teams, like, all right, I got competition. So it puts you back, in the perspective and respect other athletes. And so just the competition and, making new friends and seeing what competition out there and what you have to do to get better, to be the best. So all of those things. And, of course, without our volunteers, coaches, this wouldn't be possible. So, honestly, yes, we're the athletes, but our volunteers are amazing to take time, to put up with so many crazy blind people. So.
By the way, Ethan has a direct message for our audience in Canada.
A lot of the kids that were in the orphanage with me they got adopted to Canada. So hopefully, I hope they see this, because there was a lot of us that were really good friends, and after they got adopted, we don't know what they're doing, they don't know what I'm doing, so hopefully they see this, because then there'll be a great connection to reunite again. So appreciate you guys being here.
Character, bravery, humility, factors in many of the stories we stumbled across. It seems like almost every single person at the Beep Baseball World Series had a remarkable story to tell. Many simply possess magnetic personalities. Take, for instance, the player from the Wichita Sonics they call Chihuahua. His real name, Jonathan Aiken.
I just, yipe, and I'm quick. That's what they call me, Chihuahua.
Yet he's not the least bit Latin American. His family background is South Korean. Regardless, his favorite pastime is beep baseball.
When I put my blindfold on, I just feel like I'm invincible. Nothing can touch me. And then plus, I just use my hearing a lot, and my, my other functions beside my eyesight, which is great because it's a challenge.
The Chihuahua's most noticeable attribute is his quick, efficient fielding.
That just drives me, want to do the best I can. Every time I want to get up to bat, every time I want to, hit the base, every time I pick up the ball, I want to get people out.
Chihuahua's sighted coach and pitcher, Mike Woodard, sees a big future for the agile infielder.
Oh, yeah. There's not a team out here that don't like him, and there's not a team that's not amazed by him either. Fly balls aren't safe with him. It's just his ears are something else. He's got some growing to do, but you give him a couple of years, he will be the best. There's no doubt in my mind.
But even the niftiest fielders will tell you it's ultimately all about team.
You have to get on the ground and kind of dive like you're a goalie and block, make sure the ball's not through you. And when it's past you, you say, when the ball's past you right, you say pass you right. When they say pass you left, you say pass me left. Or when the ball goes through you say through you. Or when it's hit way over your head, you go over. So the outfielders behind me on either side knows it's going to them. So it's this great communication that we need to be a great ball team. So.
Just two of the many remarkable athletes participating in Rochester. Athletes inspired and inspirational. Mike Woodard.
Yeah, they need sighted help to get to restaurants or, from one field to the next. But as far as being competent individuals, there's probably not a more competent group in the world. I mean, even executives have assistants that do everything for them. These guys don't need it, don't want it. They have something to prove, and they do it every year.
When we come back, it's time to take this game to Canada, introduce it to some fine Canadian athletes, and try and figure out why it's not being played north of the border.
Sports Access will return. We now return to Sports Access.
Welcome back to a special 1 hour Sports Access. I'm here in BC with a number of athletes who are blind and partially sighted. How you guys doing? All right. How many of you here have played beep baseball before?
I have.
One person. Interesting. I got my batting helmet on, I got my workout gear, and in my right hand, I'm holding a blindfold. And in my left hand, I have a ball. And when you pull the pin, it makes noise. Beep baseball. Should we give it a shot? Here we go.
Blind hockey players at a camp in British Columbia, giving beep baseball a try. 15-year-old Zach Miller from Kelowna.
I liked how good it felt when I hit the ball, when I batted. It just felt cool.
A number of youth and adult athletes had the opportunity to make contact. No easy task, especially the first time.
Set, pitch. Oh, nice swing. Ready? Set, pitch. Nice hit.
Scott Roberts is a 26-year-old competitive blind hockey player.
This is my first time today. I really enjoyed it. It was fun to sort of get a feel of the different positions and the different ways to play and the different adaptations to the regular baseball game. I had a lot of fun. The hardest part for me was probably tracking, whether it was tracking the ball or tracking the noise that I'm running to or tracking the noise coming towards me to field. But it was a big difference from playing blind hockey where you're not blindfolded opposed to beat baseball where everybody's blindfolded.
Like traditional baseball, there's hitting, running, and fielding. Tristan Lapine-Lacroix is a 15-year-old from Montreal.
Because I played goal ball, it helped me to orientate myself with the ball. So that was very fun. And beat baseball, I think I didn't know that sport before I came in the camp. So now that I know the sport, I think it should be across Canada because it's a very good sport. We could develop more and play with friends and things like that.
Nick Gentleman is a 12-year-old athlete from Halifax.
Like, you're running around, and it's like, I love being active, too. So, and with us being a blindfold, I'm playing with kids like me who are also visually impaired and blind. So, when I'm out there, I feel like I'm one of them.
To a man and to a young woman, there wasn't a single person who didn't see the benefits of the sport, nor share an enthusiasm for it. The fact that none of these kids had really heard of the sport was a bit surprising. Megan Mahan is an 18-year-old from Timmins, Ontario.
I don't think the awareness is really out there in Canada as it is in all the other countries that are already playing it. So it's just more getting the awareness out there and getting people into knowing that beep baseball is out there, kind of like blind hockey.
Parents of athletes also new to the game were interested in raising the exposure level, like Tristan's dad, Jean-Michel Lacroix.
More kids, more people, is to get it organized. So you need, I'm thinking about the baseball organization when my son played. I mean, maybe they would be interested to try that, to make a team in the summer. I have no idea. I haven't talked to them about that. If they could get 15 people together, I mean, you need about 12 to make 2 teams. I mean, we could try that out. I mean, and the more people you have, and eventually maybe we'll have enough people interested to make a small tournament or something across Canada, but it has to start locally, I guess.
Nick's dad, Tim
You
Gentleman.
know, it's awareness, I suppose, you know, and not a lot of people are aware of it right now, and rightfully or wrongfully, you know, the visually impaired blind community is not very large, and as such, not so much out of sight, out of mind, but they have to work hard to get this recognition, and this is a great thing what we're doing here today, and just doing what we're doing today, introducing it to 12 different kids from across the country, is going to go a long way to making it work and grow throughout the country.
Applying that concept to the future of beat baseball at its highest level. We go back to Rochester, Minnesota in a moment.
Sports Access will return. We now return to Sports Access.
Welcome back to the special edition of Sports Access here in Rochester, Minnesota. Wasn't that great? Seeing kids learning baseball. Doesn't every kid deserve the chance to learn baseball in their community? I played hardball growing up my whole life for 17 years before I lost my sight. I had that opportunity. Ridiculous. What I find ridiculous is the fact that there's no Canadian teams here. We're a couple hours north, and not one Canadian team is here representing the country. Not one major city. You're trying to tell me with the hundreds of thousands of people who are blind or partially sighted in the country that we can't host one team with 7 players? It's embarrassing. Embarrassing to the point where I've had enough. And one of the biggest problems I'm noticing with not just the teams here, and the teams in the sports even in Canada, is the universal issue behind funding. Apparently the sport's not sexy enough. Corporate Canada and Corporate USA don't want to get involved. Here's my question. Why hasn't Baseball Canada picked this up? Okay, where's USA Baseball? Why aren't there reps here? Why aren't people actually getting behind this and saying, you know, this is something that we should be harnessing, cherishing? The fact that we're impacting lives and inspiring kids and people to play the great game of baseball despite disability, isn't that what this is all about in life? Is giving people the opportunity to do something they would have never got the chance to do? All it takes is an adaptive ball that beeps. That's all it is. If one adaptive object can change the world, then change it. Get behind it. We need to find ways to do that.
Amo Misharaf, who we met earlier in the show, talks about the game's impact.
And this sport allows us to get out of our house and onto a playing field. And if we are good enough, we make the team, and it allows us to go to places, to the nearby cities to compete. And if we are good enough, we may, like today, this weekend, we are here in another state, in Minneapolis, in Rochester, Minnesota. And some of us have never been on a plane before. It's just incredible. And then it opens up new windows in our life and brings new hope in our life. And my team, we're excited because now we are thinking even bigger. We'd like to go to Italy next year for beat baseball.
And you know where it starts? It starts at the ground up. And it starts with people realizing that they can achieve greatness and they can participate in sport. And it starts with people realizing that all it takes is using your imagination. Okay? I'm going to have 2 issues I have here. One is obesity. Another is unemployment. Rising obesity issues with kids all across the country. Kids growing, getting older, gaining weight more and more. And there's a correlation between that and the unemployment issue. The unemployment issue in Canada, persons with disabilities, the blind community leads in terms of the highest unemployment rate. That means the majority of people who are blind or partially sighted don't work. They sit at home all day wishing and dreaming they had a career and had an opportunity to participate in sport and recreation. That's embarrassing. You know what else is embarrassing is the fact that the defending World Series champions, Team Taiwan, was not able to make it out this year. Why? No funding. Seems like the universal issue between all the teams here is funding. The fact that teams cannot afford to come and participate in the game they love. That's not right. It's not right to think that teams have to find ways to do car washes, bake sales, bowl-a-thons, whatever it is to get the cash to collect, to come here to represent their city or their country.
Drew Burnett from Texas plays for the Lone Star Roadrunners.
There's a wide range in the type of personalities you meet in the blind world. Some of them not necessarily ones that I'm too particularly fond of. There's a lot of people that like to kind of just sit around and have people wait on them hand and foot, a lot of learned helplessness, and that's pretty much non-existent in this league, which is amazing to see all these other successful blind adults just coming out here and just tearing it up every week, every summer.
I'm tired of people turning on the TV and watching the Toronto Blue Jays and sitting at home, kids who are visually impaired thinking, I'll never get the chance to play baseball, because that's false. You can have the opportunity to play baseball because it's been proven. Beat baseball, it's been proven. So do something about it. Get behind it, whether it's corporate Canada, corporate USA, whether it's the federal government, the provincial government, whoever it is. You can't tell me that we can't scoop up $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to get a number of players here from Canada to represent our country. That's embarrassing, and that's not right. I think we need to do something about it, because if that unemployment rate keeps climbing, the obesity issues keep climbing, and the fact of the matter is that no one's getting that opportunity. It starts right here and right now. More Sports Access when we return.
Sports Access will return. We now return to Sports Access.
The champions of this World Series in 2014, the Austin Blackhawks. Congratulations to a great group who, as you may recall, also happened to be my hitting and fielding instructors. Of course, as we can tell you, and anyone who participated in or watched the event can tell you, it truly wasn't about the championship. Yes, it's super competitive, and winning is important, but the word that jumps to the front of one's mind is opportunity. An opportunity for athletes with visual impairments to grow physically, mentally, psychologically via sport, building self-esteem through competitive participation. LaQuinton Barner played for the Midnight Stars from Columbus, Georgia, a team that finished third from last.
Everybody it's like one big family for us to come and play against each other and show the good sportsmanship, no matter who win or lose. It's just good sportsmanship between all of the blind community, visually impaired, legally blind, or completely blind. All of us are just like one family. You know, it's good, you know, we're good competitors, we play hard on the field, but when the game's all over, we're like one family, though.
The good news, the game is growing. The National Beep Baseball Association expects the playing membership to soon top 600. Blake Boudreau of the Bayou City Heat team from Houston, Texas, sees more young people getting involved.
Up until a few years ago, I was the youngest player on the team. I started at a very unusual age. I started at age 10. Most of these guys start in their adult life. So I've been on the team for 20 years. A lot of experience, and we have 5 young guys who are just unbelievable athletes, and things are looking up. For a while, we were aging. Things weren't going the way we thought they would, but we got some young talent now, and things look really promising for the future.
And they're looking good right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a good core group of guys, a bunch of veterans who can work with these younger players, and we're going to get it together. We've always been a competitive team, always finished in the top 3, 4, 5, and we'll be there in the future, definitely.
JT Herzog, the cited head coach of the Chicago Comets, agrees.
Well, in Chicago, we're trending up. I have a roster of 17 players, and we're constantly trying to recruit new players, younger players, and giving them a chance to experience what a team sport is. You know, I raised a blind son, and you know, I know that there's just not a whole lot of team sports for the blind and visually impaired, and this is a good way to get out, get some exercise. You know, I always tell a story. You know, as raising a son, they're always taught, be careful, travel safely, and then we get them out there and say, you know what, forget all that, run with total abandon as fast as you can to that base and dive on the ground and let this ball hit you and those type of things. So it's not for everybody, and we have a lot of people that come out, try out and say, it's not for me, but the ones that stick, you know, it gets in your blood and you can't get it out.
Drew Burnett from the Roadrunners was one of the tournament's top fielders.
What's really nice for our outlook is we've met up with some people that are very knowledgeable about marketing, and they're helping us doing our fundraising for next year. In addition to that, we have such a young team. We're building a core group of people right now, and everyone on the team is way below like the average age for the league. So it's very promising for the years to come.
Next year, a team from the Dominican Republic, the Caribbean Hurricanes, expects to join the fray, one step closer to the World Series goal of 24 teams. A tidy tournament number that must include Canada. National Beat Baseball Association Secretary and player Stephen Guerra.
You know, a team, say for instance, that would be created in Toronto could certainly meet halfway into a team in Minnesota or Chicago, or even if there was a team in the Detroit area, to play a regional tournament, a weekend tournament. So beat baseball is growing. We're hoping that it will grow into Canada. We're hoping it will grow throughout the Caribbean, and we're hoping it to expand into the Asian communities outside of Taiwan.
From the fields of Rochester to Rochester in 2015, as in Minnesota to New York. These hitters will head east. Local tournament director Ben Bolt, who also organized the Minnesota events in 2007 and 10, passes the baton.
Make sure you got extra volunteers, because every once in a while you'll get some that just can't make it or something pops up. So plenty of volunteers and lots of golf carts. Those two things and you should be in pretty good shape. We had a lot that came out the first day and asked if we needed them after that, so they came back Wednesday and Thursday, and they've had a great time. It's a really inspirational event, a lot of fun to be a part of, and yeah, once they come out and get a taste of it, they love it and come back.
And there is absolutely no reason not to believe once a Team Canada is involved, they'll be back as well, for good.
Here's hoping the future of beat baseball includes a Team Canada or two. Just one of the many team sports in need of support and development north of the border. Special thank you to Rob Simpson for his contribution, co-producer Ron Rickford, and our cameramen, Arthur Pressick and Tim Tester. And of course, to all of you for watching this special edition of Sports Access.
Host Mark DeMontis, DV producer Ron Rickford, segment writer Rob Simpson, videographers Arthur Pressick, Tim Tester, production supervisor Janice Civitilli, editor Angus Fraser, audio post Akira Karinde, graphics Mike Smith, original music Santiago Moffat, Bruce Baclarian, executive producer Andrew Morris, executive in charge of production Karen Nye, director programming AMI TV Brian Perdue, vice president programming and production John Melville, president and CEO David Arrington, copyright 2014 Accessible Media Incorporated.